February 19th, 1945. 0800 hours. The black volcanic sand of Iwo Jima trembles under the thunder of naval guns. Waves crash against the beach like artillery shells, and the sky is thick with smoke and the scream of incoming rounds. Marines of the 5th Division huddle in their landing craft, faces blackened, helmets low, M1 Garans clutched tight. The island ahead looks like a moonscape, gray ash, jagged ridges, no trees, no cover, just rock and holes. You can almost smell the sulfur in the air, feel the heat rising from the ground even before the first boot touches sand. Intelligence said the Japanese had turned Iwo into a fortress, 11 miles of tunnels, thousands of caves, interconnected bunkers carved deep into the soft tuff. General Kuribayashi's orders were clear: no banzai charges, no wasteful counterattacks, hold every inch underground. Let the Americans come close, then slaughter them from hidden slits. The first waves hit the beach. Mortars rain down. Machine guns chatter from invisible positions. Marines die by the dozens in the first minutes, pinned on open sand. But something worse waits deeper inland. The Japanese defenders, crouched in their cool, dark caves, feel secure. Thick coral and volcanic rock overhead. Narrow entrances angled to deflect grenades, supplies for months. They watch through periscopes and firing ports as the gaijins swarm ashore, thinking, let them bleed on the surface, the caves are untouchable. Then, from the marine lines, a new sound rises. Not the crack of rifles, not the boom of howitzers. A low mechanical hiss, followed by a roar like a dragon waking. 8 modified M4 Sherman tanks rumble forward, their turrets replaced by long nozzles wrapped in asbestos. The Zippo tanks, Flamethrower Shermans, nicknamed for the flame they spit. Each carries 300 gallons of thickened fuel, napalm mixed with diesel, capable of shooting a jet of fire 150 yards or more. A Japanese machine gunner in a low pillbox spots one approaching. He swings his Type 99, squeezes the trigger. Bullets ping off the thick armor. The tank commander doesn't flinch. The gunner inside cranks the valve. A blinding stream of orange flame erupts, 400 feet in some accounts, engulfing the pillbox entrance. The fire doesn't just burn, it sucks oxygen, superheats the air, turns stone corridors into ovens. Inside the cave network, the first screams echo. Japanese soldiers who thought rock would protect them now choke on superheated gas. Fuel droplets cling to walls, burn for minutes. Men claw at their faces as hair ignites, uniforms melt. The tunnels fill with black smoke, the stench of charred flesh and burning hair. Those who try to flee the back exits meet more flame from Marine infantry packs, M2 flamethrowers, backpack units that Marines carry right up to the mouths of caves. One survivor later whispered in a captured diary fragment, "The fire comes like hell itself. No escape, no honor, only agony." The Japanese High Command had prepared for bullets, shells, even poison gas rumors, but this, a weapon that turned their greatest strength, their underground labyrinth, into a crematorium. The Marines push forward yard by bloody yard. Caves that once spat death now vomit smoke and silence. But Iwo is just the crescendo. This nightmare began earlier, on blood-soaked coral farther south. September 15th, 1944. The coral atoll of Peleliu shimmers under a merciless sun. Marines of the 1st Division splash ashore from Higgins boats, the water turning red almost immediately from machine gun fire raking the beach. The Japanese have fortified this speck of rock into a honeycomb of natural caves and man-made tunnels, hundreds of them, some plunging 30 feet deep into limestone. Colonel Nakagawa's 14,000 defenders wait in the cool shadows, rifles steady, grenades primed. Their doctrine, make the Americans pay for every yard, bleed them dry in the coral ridges they call the Ummerbrogel Mountains. The first days are hell.
Japanese positions spit death from concealed slits. Mortars drop like rain. Marines crawl forward, hugging the jagged ground, but every bunker cleared reveals another behind it. Hand grenades bounce back out of cave mouths. Satchel charges explode harmlessly against thick rock overhangs. The Japanese hold firm, believing their underground empire unbreakable. Then the flamethrowers arrive in force. M22 backpack units, 70 pounds of steel tank, hoses, and nozzles, strapped to the backs of specially trained operators. These men, often the biggest and bravest in the platoon, become priority targets. Japanese snipers zero in on the telltale fuel tanks and asbestos-wrapped tubes. A single bullet can turn a flamethrower man into a walking torch. Casualty rates skyrocket. Some squads lose every operator before noon. But the weapon works where nothing else does. A Marine squad approaches a cave mouth on Bloody Nose Ridge. 2 BAR men suppress the entrance with furious fire. The flamethrower man creeps forward, belly to the ground, nozzle up. He triggers the igniter. A whoosh of compressed air propels a stream of thickened fuel 40-50 yards into the darkness. The jet ignites on contact with the pilot flame, roaring like a furnace. Inside, the cave becomes an inferno. Oxygen vanishes, temperatures spike to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Japanese soldiers scream as their lungs sear, clothing fuses to skin, hair bursts into flame. Those who try to escape the rear tunnel meet grenades or more flame from a second team. Captured Japanese documents later reveal the terror. The fire demon comes. It enters our holes and devours the air. Men burn alive, no honorable death. Nakagawa's troops, trained for stoic endurance, face something primal. No blade, no bullet, just unrelenting heat that robs them of breath and dignity. Many choose suicide grenades over the flames, but not all make it in time. Peleliu costs the Marines over 1,700 dead and 8,000 wounded. The Japanese lose nearly their entire garrison. Flamethrowers prove decisive in cracking the cave defenses, shortening assaults that might have dragged on for weeks. Word spreads back to Tokyo and to the garrisons on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. The Americans have a new devil weapon. Prepare for fire. But the Japanese adapt. Deeper tunnels, more ventilation shafts, suicide squads to hunt the flame operators. The horror escalates. On Iwo Jima, the caves are even more elaborate, and the flamethrower teams face annihilation rates that make Peleliu look merciful. The island's black ash still smokes when the next nightmare begins.
April 1, 1945. Easter Sunday dawns calm over the Ryukyu Islands. The largest amphibious assault in the Pacific begins under a pale spring sky. Marines and Army troops pour ashore on Okinawa's western beaches in near silence. No banzai screams, no wild counterattacks. The Japanese have learned. General Ushijima has withdrawn most of his 100,000-plus defenders into the southern half of the island, turning the rugged terrain into a fortress of interlocking caves, pillboxes, and reverse slope positions. The Shuri Line awaits, miles of natural and man-made caves honeycombed through limestone hills, some large enough to shelter entire companies, others narrow slits barely wide enough for a rifle barrel. The first weeks are deceptive. Marines advance inland with light resistance, thinking the Japanese have fled. Then the trap springs. From hidden cave mouths, mortars and artillery rain down. Machine guns rake exposed ridges. Every hill taken reveals another, steeper, deadlier. The fighting becomes a slow, grinding horror of cave-to-cave combat. Flamethrower teams become the spearhead of every assault. By now, the M2A1-7 backpack unit is standard issue for assault platoons. Improved nozzles, better seals, a mixture of gasoline and napalm that sticks and burns longer. Each operator carries 4 gallons of fuel in 2 tanks on his back, enough for 6 to 10 seconds of continuous flame.
They move in pairs, one man with the flamethrower, covered by riflemen and bar gunners who suppress the entrance, while the Zippo man closes to 20 to 30 yards. The caves on Okinawa are deeper and more sophisticated than Peleliu or Iwo. Some have multiple levels, ventilation shafts, and escape tunnels. Japanese soldiers wait in the dark, soaked in sweat, listening to the crunch of marine boots above. They know what's coming. Orders from Ushijima hold to the last, but many now carry grenades to end it quickly rather than burn. A typical action unfolds on Sugarloaf Hill, May 1945. Marines of the 6th Division assault the heavily fortified knob. Japanese fire pinned them down. A flamethrower team, Corporal Herschel Williams and his assistant, creeps forward under covering fire. Williams, small but fearless, hugs the ground as bullets snap overhead. He reaches a cave mouth spitting lead. He rises to one knee, triggers the igniter. A roaring jet of fire lances into the darkness, orange-white, thick as a man's arm. The cave mouth glows like a furnace door. Screams echo from within, cut short as oxygen vanishes. Fuel clings to walls, burns for minutes. Smoke billows out, black and choking. Another entrance nearby opens fire. Williams shifts, fires again. The second jet engulfs the position. Japanese soldiers inside claw at sealed exits, lungs collapsing, skin blistering. Some detonate grenades against their chests, others simply collapse, charred beyond recognition. The caves turn into death traps exactly as the Americans intended. Flame doesn't need line of sight. It follows the contours, seeks the lowest points, fills every crevice. Ventilation shafts become chimneys, drawing fire deeper. Entire platoons of Japanese defenders are incinerated in minutes. Bodies block tunnels, forcing others to climb over burning comrades to reach air. Japanese accounts captured after the battle speak of unimaginable horror. The fire enters like a living thing. It pursues us through the passages. There is no place to hide from the heat. Men become torches, running until they fall. Suicide rates soar, not from combat, but to escape the flames. By June, Okinawa falls. Over 12,000 Americans dead, 50,000 wounded, nearly the entire Japanese garrison annihilated. Flamethrowers account for a disproportionate number of cave clearances. Estimates suggest they were used in over 70% of successful assaults on fortified positions. The weapon that the Japanese never fully anticipated turned their greatest defensive asset into a mass grave. Yet the psychological scar runs deeper. Survivors who emerged from the caves, rare as they were, spoke little. The fear of fire lingered long after the guns fell silent. In the end, the Pacific War's cave battles proved one brutal truth. Rock can stop bullets, but nothing stops unrelenting flame. And with Okinawa secured, the path to Japan's home islands lay open, but at a cost few could yet comprehend.
The battles fade into history books, but the echoes linger in the minds of those who survived. By the summer of 1945, the Pacific War's cave fighting phase has become synonymous with one weapon, the flamethrower. What the Imperial Japanese Army never fully anticipated, what their doctrine never prepared for, was how completely this device would shatter their underground strongholds and, more devastatingly, the spirit of the men inside. Captured diaries in post-war interrogations paint a chilling picture. Japanese soldiers, raised on Bushido and the promise of an honorable death in battle, found no glory in burning alive. Entries from Iwo Jima survivors, few as they were, describe the terror. The flame pursues like a demon. It enters the passages, steals the breath. Men become living torches, running blindly until they collapse. In the narrow tunnels, the fire didn't just kill, it suffocated, blinded, melted.
Oxygen depletion turned caves into gas chambers. Temperatures soared so high that metal fixtures warped and stone cracked. Those who survived the initial blast often succumbed to smoke inhalation or third-degree burns that left them unrecognizable. The Japanese adapted desperately. Orders went out. Target the flamethrower man first. Snipers and machine gunners received special instructions. Kill the man with the tanks on his back before he can close the distance. Flamethrower operators became the highest priority targets, suffering casualty rates as high as 80 to 90% in some assaults. To counter, Marines began using corkscrew and blowtorch tactics. Riflemen and BAR teams suppress the entrance to pin defenders, while the flame operator advances under cover. Satchel charges sealed exits. Bulldozers sometimes pushed earth over cave mouths to entomb the occupants. But the flamethrower remained the key. Nothing else could reach around corners, fill voids, or force surrender from positions that bullets couldn't touch. On Iwo Jima, the Zippo tanks proved decisive. 8 flamethrower Shermans, their long nozzles extending like serpents, methodically burned out hundreds of positions. One tank alone might clear a dozen caves in a single day, jets of fire reaching 150 yards or more, turning entire tunnel complexes into crematoria. Japanese defenders, expecting artillery duels or infantry charges, watched in stunned horror as armored beasts spat liquid death that ignored cover and geometry. Okinawa sealed the weapon's reputation. Medal of Honor recipient Corporal Herschel Woody Williams, a diminutive but unbreakable Marine, exemplified the courage required. On February 21, 1945, Iwo Jima, actually, his actions were there, not Okinawa, he destroyed multiple pillboxes and enabled his company to advance by personally flaming Japanese positions under heavy fire, often alone after his covering teams were cut down. Williams crawled forward repeatedly, nozzle blazing, sealing emplacements that blocked the way to Airfield No. 1. His citation reads of dauntless valor in the face of point-blank fire, yet he later spoke quietly of the horror, the screams, the smell, the knowledge that he was ending lives in the most agonizing way imaginable. The Japanese High Command never developed a true counter. Gas masks were useless against heat. Deeper tunnels only delayed the inevitable as smoke followed ventilation paths. Many chose ritual suicide, grenades to the chest rather than face the flames. The psychological impact was profound. What was meant to be a defensive masterstroke became a symbol of futility and terror. When Japan surrendered in August 1945, the caves of the Pacific stood silent, blackened, smoke-stained tombs holding thousands who perished without ever firing a final shot. The flamethrower, born in the trenches of World War I and perfected in the islands, had turned the Japanese greatest strength into their most feared nightmare. It wasn't just a weapon. It was the end of an era of honorable combat, replaced by something far more merciless.